and then you slowly work it in until you focus down, or you narrow down to your focus. And your focus is going to be the last thing down here. It's your thesis, right? But up top here, you're going to start broad. And we use that term, zoom out. And down here, you're zooming in. Google Earth. You can see the map of the Earth, and you zoom in till you see your region. Then you zoom in till you see your city. You zoom in till you see your house. And that's what you're doing. But by starting here, you're giving your readers a point of reference. You're giving them identifiers, Star Wars, George Lucas. And then you narrow it. Are we talking about Wookiees? Are we talking about droids? Are we talking about Jedi? Well, what about Jedi? You're talking about, we're talking about who they are. Well, what about who they are? And then you're going down here with your thesis points, their weapons, their powers, the way they use good and everything that they do, right? And once this is crafted, you see how this starts big and it just goes all the way in to a point. Now you've got background. Another thing that is also good when you guys write your papers, your introduction, define terms. Define some of these terms. People will not know what a Jedi is unless you tell them. People will not know what transcendentalism is unless you define it for them. Readers might not know what the age of reason entailed unless you define it for them. And this is a common tactic in argument. You've got to define your terms, define your words, because all writing is persuasive. And even though this is a research paper, you're persuading whoever is reading your paper that you are right about these 3 points. And you've got to define your terms, how you're going to use them. Now, this helps me. Use what helps you. This is kind of traditional thinking, right? But if I were going to write about Edgar Allan Poe, I would not say, Edgar Allan Poe uses the lightsaber. I would zoom out. Romanticism. American Romanticism. It's a period of American literature roughly between 1800 and 1860. Some of the big ideas of Romanticism were imagination, emotion, intuition, darkness, horror. One of the more prominent writers during this time period was Edgar Allan Poe. Poe used elements of darkness in his writing in tales such as The Telltale Heart, The Raven, The Pit and the Pendulum. Right? And you're ending up with the 3 works you're going to talk about with darkness, elements of darkness. And when you get in your paper, define darkness. Is darkness the way you're going to argue darkness? Is it an absence of light, or is darkness something more evil and sinister? You've got to define that for your reader. Okay? Now, I want us to take a common thesis and write an introduction. And this is going to be your thesis. It's only that. So that's going to be your thesis. The Crucible contains figurative language, symbolism, and themes. And obviously in here you're going to talk, more about comparisons, symbolism. You're going to discuss all the different symbols. And then of course themes, there's tons of themes in the Crucible. But if this is going to be your thesis, write down the entire introduction pointing to your thesis. Plug it in your formula, whatever your formula is. You're going to plug in your thesis and work backward. But start big, start grand. Start with Puritanism. Start with Arthur Miller and communism in the 1950s. And then bring it in to here. Okay? Questions? Okay. All right, write this down, guys. A full introduction with this thesis.
What is the guy's name that wrote it again?
Arthur Miller. Write that down.
When did you write it?
Arthur Miller wrote The Crucible.
No, when?
When? 1950. It's the 1950s. I'm not sure of the date. Plug it in, use your formulas. Start wrapping up your thoughts, guys. All right, let's share some of these. And then these are just off the cuff. This is something simple. We're familiar with the Crucible. We have our graphic organizer. What'd you get? Somebody volunteer.
You should pay people to do that.
The Crucible is a play written by Arthur Miller in the 1950s. This play contains many ideas and aspects of Puritanism. Arthur Miller used multiple literary elements to enhance his writing and to enforce his points. The Crucible uses the literary elements such as figurative language, symbolism, and a wide variety of themes.
Excellent. Excellent. She had her identifiers in there. The Crucible, Arthur Miller, Puritanism. You're grounding the reader to where you're going. You're saying, this is my direction, and I'm leading you down to my focus. Right? Good. Somebody else. It's well done. You should not have looked at me, Abby. Remy, yours.
Is there like a certain amount of how long it
No,
is?
not at all. Not at all.
Okay, because mine's short. But I put The Crucible is a book written by Arthur Miller in the 1950s about the Salem witch trials. It is full of figurative language, symbolism, and themes that were highly controversial in the Puritan time frame in which it is set.
Okay. The Crucible, Salem witch trials, controversial, Puritanism. She's giving her identifiers for the reader, and then she leads the reader down to her thesis. This is mine. This is off the cuff. The 1950s marked a time of paranoia with communism. The Senate House Un-American Committee questioned the political beliefs of others, and in doing so, often ruined these people's reputations. Arthur Miller was an author called before the committee, who later wrote a play, The Crucible, which mirrors hysteria with the state of America and communism. History of the Salem witch trials showed man's inhumanity to man, and The Crucible contains figurative language, symbolism, and themes. And this does not flow half as well as y'all's do. But this is what you're doing. When you guys draft this, start big. Give the reader an idea of the time period. 1950s communism scare. 1690 hysteria witchcraft scare. And then work it down. Work it down and lead them where you want to go. However it is you want to lead them. How it makes sense to you. But what you're doing is you're covering these major things here. And if you realize the purpose is to inform the reader, you should not sit there at your computer, start singing Sweet Child of Mine because you don't know how to start. You know how to start. Start with Puritanism. Start with Romanticism. Start with the state of America during this time period. Why this time period was relevant. What was happening to make this the Romanticism movement. That's all you got to do. And then you can go back and put some style to it. You go back and give it a little bit of polish. But this is what you're doing, and it should